Winter Melon Fujin Counterattack. Chapter 1 Sedan Chair Turmoil. Outside the forbidden city, gongs and drums were beating and red silks were fluttering. Today is the wedding day of Long Kaduo's eldest daughter, Long Swollen. Pampered since childhood, although he was born round, he was also golden and jade. The wedding procession was huge, and the people in the city were watching, just waiting to see this grand event. But who knows, the red sedan has not yet been carried into the palace, but a phoenix rushed to the edge of the sky, with dazzling golden light. It was Kangxi's favorite Princess Zayan. Her sleeves flew over, and she opened her mouth to shout, "The groom is this princess. Who dares to stop me?" Before he finished speaking, the attendant had already knocked over the sedan chair. Just hearing a bang, Long Swollen rolled out of the sedan chair, her dress was disheveled, and she fell to pieces. The surroundings burst into laughter, countless pairs of eyes fell on her fat and round figure, and the sarcasm was endless. The unlucky child is herself. But there was a bang in her head, and when she opened her eyes again, her mind changed. She was not Long Swollen, but Zhang Sheng, an ordinary girl who had just been hit by a car in the 21st century. Zhang Sheng cursed in his heart, the old lady just passed through and became a joke on the spot. What's even more outrageous is that in full view, she actually died for the princess to see. It's a pity that his life is hard, and he fainted for a while and then relieved himself. It's just that when she struggled to get up, the streets were full of laughter. From now on, she was an abandoned woman. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 2 The Imperial Decree is like thunder. Zhang Sheng hadn't figured out how to clear his grievances when an imperial decree slammed down. Emperor Kangxi said in a resounding voice, "Long Swollen has a tragic fate. It is truly pitiful that she has been humiliated on her wedding day. I grant her marriage and make her the legitimate wife of the fourth prince, Yinzhen, to preserve her dignity." Zhang Sheng's head was blinded. What? Expiation? Make up for the fourth master's cold-faced King Hao? Everyone was in an uproar, and the fourth prince Yinzhen's face was darker than the bottom of the pot. He glanced at Zhang Sheng coldly, with obvious disgust in his eyes. The little girl is fat and short, like a winter melon, no wonder she was divorced. Zhang Sheng gritted his teeth. Humph, do you think I want to marry you? I heard that the Olanara clan was killed by you before they even passed the door, and this girl is not afraid of you. But the imperial decree was hard to disobey, and the two eventually became husband and wife. On the wedding night, Zhang Sheng lay down and fell asleep, leaving the fourth master with a fat back of his head. As for the consummation? Inexistent. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 3 Winter Melon Fujin's Counterattack. After marriage, Zhang Sheng lived a comfortable life. The fourth master's face was as cold as ice, so she thought there was an extra walking iceberg in the house. She did not ask for favor, but used modern knowledge to create strange tricks in the house. She grows tomatoes, makes milk tea, and secretly improves the dining room into a Manchuhan fusion snack shop. Not long after, the servants in the house secretly praised her for her ability. As for the sour words outside, she ignored them even more. Who laughs at her for being fat? She smiled brightly. Who laughed at her for abandoning her wife? She pulled out a sentence, then if you have the ability, let the princess try to rob your husband. Zhang Sheng's cheeky energy gradually suppressed the limelight. Although the fourth master disliked it, he had to admit, this woman is really different. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 4 2 Years of Change. Time flies. Kangxi ordered the fourth master to guard Shengjing and returned to Beijing 2 years later. One morning, as he entered his mansion, he saw a woman walk out the gate. Her waist was as slender as a willow branch, her face was charming, and her every move was full of charm. The gatekeeper outside the courtyard was so fascinated by her that he almost drooled. Yinzhen's eyebrows jumped. Who is this? If you look closely, the eyebrows are somewhat familiar. Isn't it exactly his legitimate Fujin? After 2 years of not seeing each other, the winter melon turned into a fairy. His face immediately sank. Does this woman want to cuckold him? Underscore 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 un. Chapter 5 Hidden Knife in a Smile. Zhang Sheng raised his eyes and met the fourth master's face that was so cold that it was about to kill. She was happy in her heart, but she smiled particularly brightly. Who is this man? I don't know this Fujin. The fourth master almost fainted. For 2 years, he thought he was marrying a troublemaker, but she turned into this. When the attendants in the house saw her, they all stole eyes, and even Emperor Kangxi occasionally summoned her into the palace and praised her for being interesting. Yinzhen was furious, but he couldn't say it. After all, he had indeed snubbed her for 2 years, and now that she had changed her face, he felt uncomfortable. Chapter 6 The Dark Tide of the Court. As Kangxi grew older, the competition among the princes intensified. Though scheming, Yinzhen fell out of favor. Zhang Sheng, intent on staying out of the fray, found herself swept into the storm. One night, she dreamed of a giant crow circling, speaking in human language, Donghua, if you don't help the fourth master, he will die a violent death. Zhang Sheng woke up, his heart chilling. Although she doesn't love the fourth master, she has been together for 2 years, and she is not without any concerns. What's more, she doesn't want to be a widow yet. So, with her strange intuition and time traveler luck, she helped the fourth master dismantle the game again and again. Someone poisoned the tea, and she replaced it with her own milk tea in advance. Someone set up a trap to frame the offense, and she deliberately made a big joke and turned against the army. Someone colluded with Princess Zayan, and she simply abducted the princess to learn to dance hot dance, so that she was addicted to it and had no time to care. Over time, the fourth master discovered that this woman not only did not hold back, but was his greatest help. Chapter 7 Reversal and Truth. However, Zhang Sheng gradually realized that his time travel was not accidental. She met a mysterious eunuch in the Qianqing Palace, Suanzhu. This person's eyes were deep, and he could tell in one sentence that she came from the afterlife. Suanzhu whispered, "You are not a person of this era, your mission is to change history. Otherwise, you will disappear completely." Zhang Sheng's heart was shocked. No wonder crows can talk, no wonder they can always save danger. It turned out that she was carrying the shackles of fate on her shoulders. Can change history? She bit her lip and thought. In history, Yinzhen should have succeeded to the throne as Emperor Yongzheng. Could it be? Are you the key to all this? Chapter 8 Emotional Entanglement. Although the fourth master is cold, there will eventually be cracks in people's hearts. Zhang Sheng saved him from danger again and again, his eyes gradually warmed, and finally one night, he lowered his voice and said, "Xuelan, if I lose you, I am afraid that I will have no face to stand in the world." Zhang Sheng's heart was shocked. This man finally admitted that he needed her. However, just as the relationship between the two deepened, Princess Zayan made another move. She was obsessed with the fourth master, and even joined forces with other princes to set a trap to beat Zhang Sheng into the cold palace. That night, Zhang Sheng's life was almost hanging by a thread. Suanzhu reappeared and sneered, "Choose, either keep the fourth master or return to your original world." Chapter 9 Bizarre. High on the palace wall, the blood moon hung in the air. Zhang Sheng suddenly heard the sound of a car honking in his ears, as if the city of the 21st century was whistling by. Her eyes darkened, and she saw 2 roads at the same time. One is the modern bustling street, and she is still herself at the moment of the car accident. One is deep in the Qing Palace, she is the fourth master's concubine Fujin, standing side by side with him. Zhang Sheng's heart beat violently. She suddenly understood that time travel was not only a joke, but a multiple-choice question given to her by fate. "I want to stay here." She gritted her teeth and whispered. As soon as the words fell, the whistle gradually faded away, the blood moon dispersed, and the palace walls fell silent inside and outside. She held the fourth master's hand tightly, her eyes firm. Chapter 10 The final chapter of the counterattack. A few years later, Kangxi died, and his 9 sons took the throne. Zhang Sheng strategized, helped the fourth master lay out with modern thinking, and finally helped him ascend to the throne. At the new emperor's enthronement ceremony, the fourth master made her the queen of the central palace, which shook the whole dynasty. Those who had ridiculed her for being a winter melon now knelt in front of the hall, not daring to look up. Zhang Sheng looked at the thousands of miles of rivers and mountains outside the palace, and a hint of absurdity suddenly surged in his heart. He was just an ordinary woman who died in a car accident, but by mistake, he became the most mysterious queen in history. In the dead of night, the fourth master would quietly hug her, his tone still cold, but he couldn't hide his tenderness. "Donghua, the luckiest thing in my life is to marry you. Zhang Sheng smiled and said secretly in his heart, who laughs at my winter melon? I want to make the most round and brilliant one. Chapter 11 The Queen's Road. After the ceremony, Zhang Sheng naturally became the lord of the central palace. When the civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty saw her, although they respectfully claimed to be queen, they inevitably laughed in their hearts. It is ridiculous that a fat and round girl can ascend to the rear position of the 95 supreme. Zhang Sheng didn't take it seriously. She didn't rely on her face to eat, but used her means and courage to intimidate the courtiers. The first thing was that she set up a dining room assessment in the palace, forcing a group of imperial chefs to come up with a surprise trick, and finally launched a hot pot. Hundreds of officials from the Manchu and Han dynasties gathered together to discuss matters while shabu-shabu, and the atmosphere was harmonious. Although the fourth master had a cold face, he secretly felt that it was wonderful. The second thing was that she set up the embroidery workshop bureau to invite palace maids to learn embroidery, arithmetic, and even promote her modern stick figures. This move made the outside world feel bizarre, but the palace maids secretly pledged allegiance to her, forming a unique force. Third, Zhang Sheng commissioned a Western clock and even mixed up the palace's daily routines, using both a chronological system and a time system. Initially confusing the civil and military officials, they gradually became addicted. Some jokingly claimed, the Empress must have a clairvoyant eye, able to predict the future. Chapter 12 The Dream Returns. Everything seemed stable, but it was broken by a dream one night. Zhang Sheng dreamed of the crow again. The crow's eyes were blood red, and he said coldly, "You help him seize the throne, history is biased. But history cannot be distorted, and if you continue to intervene, there will be a price." Zhang Sheng's heart was shocked, and he hurriedly asked, "What price?" The crow let out a strange laugh, "Queen, you will lose the most precious thing." She woke up suddenly, covered in cold sweat. Looking at the fourth master beside him, he was still asleep, his eyebrows furrowed. Zhang Sheng felt fear for the first time in his heart. Will her existence really lead this man to the abyss of the unknown? Chapter 13 Envoys from the Western Regions. Soon, an envoy from the Western Regions arrived in the capital. His name was Sarlin, a man of exceptional beauty, his eyes like deep pools. He presented the new emperor with a treasure trove of rare treasures, including a jewel that was particularly striking, one said to have the power to glimpse the future. When Zhang Sheng stared at the gem, there was a loud bang in his mind, and a picture flashed in front of his eyes. The palace was burning, he was trapped in the sea of fire, and the fourth master knelt down and cried bitterly. Her face turned pale. Salin smiled and said, "The queen is destined to be with this treasure, so it is better to keep it as a protection." The fourth master's expression sank, and he refused in a cold voice, "My queen, I don't need the protection of others." Sarlin bowed deeply, his eyes dark, "Destiny cannot be reversed. I only hope that your majesty will take care of herself." Zhang Sheng panicked even more. She vaguely felt that this envoy from the western regions might be related to her own travel. Chapter 14 The Undercurrent Surges. Zhang Sheng found that more and more people in the palace began to talk about her in low voices. Some people say she can do sorcery, some people say that she is actually the reincarnation of a fox demon. Some courtiers even submitted a memorial requesting the abolition of the queen to avoid confusing the principals. The fourth master was furious and reprimanded the ministers, but it also made the situation even more tense. At night, Zhang Sheng hugged the fourth master and whispered, "If one day, I really... What would you do if you couldn't stay here?" The fourth master's eyes were cold, but he trembled rarely. "If I lose you, I will ruin the country, and I will look for you." Zhang Sheng's heart was sour, but he was even more afraid of the prophecy in the dream. Chapter 15 The Blood Moon reappears. A year later, a strange phenomenon suddenly appeared in the capital. A blood moon hung in the sky. The people were in a panic, and the eunuchs and maids in the palace knelt on the ground, muttering, "An evil star has fallen from the sky." Zhang Sheng suddenly remembered how similar this was to the crow's prophecy. Sure enough, she dreamed of crows again that night. The crow said coldly, "History has changed because of you, and the price has come. If you want to keep this life, you must offer your soul." Zhang Sheng asked tremblingly, "If I sacrifice my soul, can he still ascend the throne and enjoy the country? The crow said, he will be emperor forever, and you, will be erased. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 16 Choice. When Zhongsheng woke up, his heart was ashen. She looked at the fourth master and wanted to tell him everything, but she was afraid that he would go crazy for herself. In the end, she didn't say a word, only secretly wrote a few letters the next day and hid them in the brocade box. On the night of the blood moon, the palace really caught fire. The flames were monstrous, and everyone was in chaos. Zhongsheng resolutely rushed into the sea of fire, holding the western region's gem tightly in his hand. She whispered in her heart, if you really want to pay the price, let me bear it alone. The fire engulfed her figure. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 17 Lamentation of the Empty Palace. After the fire was extinguished, everyone saw the fourth master holding a burnt palace skirt, his voice hoarse. The dignified emperor burst into tears. Since then, his temperament has become more and more cold, iron-blooded externally, and isolated internally. The position of the central palace has been hanging in the air for many years, and no one dares to mention the queen again. But every late at night, he would always sit in the side hall and look at the brocade box in a daze. Inside, there is a letter left by Zhongsheng. The last sentence in the letter reads, "Don't forget, whoever laughs at my winter melon, I will live the most fulfilling." Underscore 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 un. Chapter 18 Echoes of Another World. However, the story does not end there. In another time and space, in a hospital in a modern city, a girl suddenly woke up from the operating table. The nurse exclaimed, "She is alive." The girl opened her eyes in a daze, but there was a faint memory in her mind, hot pot, blood moon, cold noodle emperor. She raised her hand and saw a strange gem hanging on her wrist, flashing with an eerie light. Zhongsheng murmured in a low voice, "It turns out that I back. But deep down in my heart, I will always leave a name and a voice. Winter melon, the luckiest thing in my life is to marry you." Underscore 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 un. Chapter 19 Unfinished Reincarnation. The city is lit with neon lights and cars are whistling. Zhongsheng was walking in the crowd and suddenly felt that someone was watching from behind. She turned around suddenly, only to see a man in a suit with cold eyebrows and eyes, but very similar to him. The man smiled slightly and whispered, "Finally found you." Zhongsheng's heart shrank suddenly. The cycle of fate seems to have just begun. Chapter 20 Rebirth of the City. Zhongsheng returned to modern times and found himself in a coma for 3 months. Doctors said her life hung by a thread during the car accident, but miraculously woke up. However, she knew that it was not an illusion. She really lived in the Qing Palace, became the queen, and loved the cold-faced fourth master. Now that he has been reborn, his heart is empty. She tries to return to her daily routine, going to work, shopping with her best friends, and continuing her dream of illustration. But at night, I always dream of palace fires, dreaming of a cold but gentle face. Until that day, she bumped into the man at the crowded subway entrance. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 21 Familiar Eyebrows and Eyes. The man was wearing a well-tailored black suit with eyebrows and eyes like knives, and a cold expression. He stood out in the crowd, but he only seemed to look at Zhongsheng. "Finally found you." His voice was low, with a strength that could not be refused. Zhongsheng's heart jumped hard. She will never forget that voice for the rest of her life. She blurted out, "Yinsen." The man was slightly stunned, and a smile appeared on the corners of his lips. "You really remember me?" Zhongsheng felt cold all over. This is impossible. But his temperament, eyes, and tone were exactly the same as those of the Qing Palace Emperor. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 22 He is strange and familiar. He introduced himself. "My name is Yan Zhen." The president of an international investment company is rumored to be cold-blooded and ruthless, with an iron fist. But in Zhongsheng's eyes, he was clearly the fourth master who had changed his skin. Zhongsheng was so confused that he didn't dare to approach. But Yan Zhen pressed step by step, and even appeared directly in her company, publicly announcing that he would invest in her small design department. Colleagues were stunned and secretly gossiping. Did Zhang Sheng hook up with the president? Zhang Sheng knew very well, this is not a coincidence, he followed fate to find her. Chapter 23 The Temptation of Destiny. Yan Zhen began to appear frequently in Zhang Sheng's life, as if he wanted to rewrite their story. He took her to see the night view of the city and said coldly, "The lights here are not as good as the candles you lit back then." He helped her block the malicious competitor and said lightly, "Lonely." "No, Yan's woman, who dares to bully her?" Zhang Sheng was disturbed by these familiar words. She tried to tell herself, this is modern, not the Qing Palace, and she can't fall into it anymore. But Yan Zhen's eyes were burning, as if he was about to engulf her. Chapter 24 The Blood Moon reappears. Just when Zhang Sheng was gradually shaking, the vision came again. One night, a blood moon suddenly appeared over the city. The news report said it was just an astronomical spectacle, but it made Zhang Sheng shiver. Sure enough, the crow reappeared and hovered outside her window. The crow whispered, "Fate is not over, reincarnation is endless. If you choose him, you will lose everything again." Zhang Sheng collapsed and shouted, "Why? I've already endured it once, so why come back?" The crow only left a sneer and flapped its wings and left. Yan Zhen happened to push the door open and hugged her tightly. A low voice sounded in his ears, "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Chapter 25 The Truth Emerges. Salin, that envoy from the western regions actually appeared in modern times. This time, he was an archaeologist and came to Zhang Sheng with a newly unearthed Qing Palace cultural relics. That cultural relic was the gem she held when she disappeared into the Sea of Fire. Salin said meaningfully, "History and the future are one link. You and him are destined to be entangled. But every choice will come at a price." Zhang Sheng suddenly understood in his heart, his encounter with Yan Zhen was by no means accidental, but repeatedly woven by the hand of fate. Chapter 26 Love and Sacrifice. Yan Zhen finally confessed, "In my previous life, I missed too much. In this life, I will never let go again." Zhang Sheng's eyes were full of tears, but he said in a trembling voice, "If I am with you, maybe the whole world will collapse. Are you willing to bear the price?" Yan Zhen smiled coldly, "I once sacrificed my kingdom, and now I am gambling with the world. What is there to fear?" Zhang Sheng's heartstrings were completely broken and he threw himself into his arms. Even in destruction, she will be with him. Chapter 27 A New Chapter of Fate. Under the blood moon, the gem suddenly burst out with strong light, engulfing Zhang Sheng and Yan Zhen together. When the light dissipated, they were no longer on the streets of the city, but in a strange land, steam engines roaring, spaceships scheming through the sky, neither ancient nor modern, but a new time and space. Zhang Sheng looked up in a daze. "Here. Where is it?" Yan Zhen held her hand and looked firm. "No matter where you are a lonely world." The crow's laughter sounded again. The cycle of reincarnation is not over, the story has just begun. Chapter 28 The Strange Earth. The white mist dissipated, and the land under Zhang Sheng and Yan Zhen's feet was no longer an asphalt road, but a square covered with copper-colored gears. High in the sky, huge spaceships roared by, steam pipes crisscrossed, and pedestrians on the streets wore strange costumes. Some wore animal bone masks, others controlled mechanical birds under their crotches. Zhang Sheng's eyes widened. "This? What the hell is this? Is it a steampunk version of the Qing Palace drama?" Yan Zhen's expression was cold, and his eyes were still sharp. "No matter where you are, I will protect you thoroughly." Suddenly, a column of copper-armored chariots rumbled over, with a black flag hanging on it, and in the center of the flag was a crimson crow. Chapter 29 The Land of Crows. The two were soon taken to a palace made of obsidian. On the throne sat a queen wearing a metal mask, her voice hoarse and majestic. People from other worlds, you trespass into the country of crows. Zhang Sheng's heart was shocked. Crow. Could it be that this kingdom is the source of controlling one's own destiny? The queen slowly took off her mask, revealing a very beautiful but pale face. Her eyes were exactly the same as Zhang Sheng's. Zhang Sheng exclaimed, "Who are you?" The queen sneered, "I am another fate you have not traveled. If you had chosen power instead of love, you would have become me. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 30 The Trial of the Twins. The Crow Queen proposed that Zhang Sheng undergo the triple trial. If you can pass, you can solve the mystery of reincarnation. If you fail, you will be trapped here forever. The first test, mirror illusion. Zhang Sheng saw countless selves, some became imperial empresses, some were lonely and helpless, and some even turned into monsters. The illusion whispered, "Do you think you are special? You are just one of countless branches." Zhang Sheng gritted his teeth, "No. I am who I am, not a copy of anyone." The mirror image was shattered in an instant. The second test, the trial of the inner demon. Yan Zhen knelt in a pool of blood in front of her eyes, and said coldly, "I have never loved you, you are just a pawn." Zhang Sheng's tears welled up in his eyes, but he resolutely stepped forward and hugged the phantom. "Even so, I still choose you." The inner demon collapsed with a bang. The third test, sacrifice choice. Two doors appeared in front of him, one leading to returning to modern times and the other leading to coexisting with Yan Zhen but destined to live in another world for a short time. Zhang Sheng closed his eyes and pushed the ladder away. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 31 Bloody Battle in Spaceship City. Zhang Sheng passed the trial, but attracted the anger of the Crow Queen. She ordered the entire Raven army to hunt down the two. So, Zhang Sheng and Yan Zhen fought side by side. She designed a steam rocket with her brain, and he wielded a cold weapon, with the momentum like the return of an emperor. Over the spaceship city, fire and steam are intertwined. Zhang Sheng suddenly felt that this bloody battle was even crazier than a court battle, but her heart was more determined than ever. As long as she stood side by side with him, she would be her destination. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 32 The Crack of Destiny. In the end, the Raven Queen personally took action. She raised the gem in her hand, and the sky instantly tore out a huge black crack, as if it was about to engulf the whole world. She said coldly, "Zhang Sheng, this is the end of fate. You and him should not exist in the same time and space." Yan Zhen blocked Zhang Sheng behind him and shouted in a deep voice, "What's wrong with me defying fate and changing my destiny?" The cracks grew bigger and bigger, and the world trembled. At this moment, a voice sounded in Zhang Sheng's heart. It was the gem she held when the Qing Palace was in flames. The voice whispered, "Choose, destroy everything, or resume." Underscore 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 un. Chapter 33 The Gate of a New World. Zhang Sheng and Yan Zhen looked at each other. She reached out, clasped her fingers with him, and threw the gem into the crack together. The bright light shone, the Crow Queen let out a piercing scream, and the figure gradually disintegrated. The crack turned into a door. On the other side of the door, there is a faint familiar and unfamiliar scene, not only the neon lights of the modern city, but also the shadows of the cornices of the Qing Palace, and the starry sky of the unknown world. Zhang Sheng's heart was pounding. That's New World? Yan Zhen's cold face showed a rare smile at this moment. "No matter which world it is, I will go with you." They stepped into the light door hand in hand, and their figures disappeared into the trembling steam continent. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 34 The Unfinished Story. When the light dissipates, everything returns to silence. In the long river of history, there are no longer names such as Zhang Sheng or Yan Zhen, but countless legends have been left. Some people say that they have seen a pair of strange travelers, traveled through different worlds, and rewrote their destiny. Some people say that the pair of travelers are always looking for each other in samsara. Others say that when the blood moon rises again, they will return and continue to write a new chapter. Zhang Sheng's laughter seemed to come from across time and space. "Who laughs at my winter melon? I just want to live the most fulfilling life." Chapter 35 The Gate of the World. After the light sect engulfed them, Zhongsheng and Yanzhen were in an infinite galaxy. There are countless balls of light floating around, and each ball of light reflects a different world. There are ancient battlefields where armored warriors fight, there are future starports where spaceships shuttle, there are clouds with immortal swords, and there are wastelands under the blood moon. A low voice sounded, choose, every time you enter a world, you will endure a new trial of fate. If you can complete the reincarnation of the 7 worlds, you can break your fate. Zhongsheng was stunned. 7. World? Yanzhen squeezed her hand and said coldly, I don't believe in fate. No matter how many worlds you have, loneliness is up to you. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 36 The Colosseum in Ancient Rome. The first ball of light throws them into the giant Colosseum under the scorching sun. The audience roared at tsunami, the iron cage opened, and a giant lion roared and rushed over. Zhongsheng was cold all over, but a short sword was thrown away. She couldn't laugh or cry, what the hell, I'm a designer who fights lions. Yanzhen snatched the sword with his backhand and protected her in front of her, his eyes shining like blades. The audience shouted wildly, Caesar! Caesar! Zhongsheng glanced at it and saw that the tyrant emperor sitting on the high platform looked exactly like Yanzhen. 2 Yanzhen, one is a fighter and the other is an emperor. Zhongsheng's heart was beating wildly, who is the real in this battle? Underscore 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 un. Chapter 37 Future Star Harbor. In the second world, they landed on a silver-white spaceport. High-rise buildings are lined up, flying cars are flowing around, and artificial intelligence is broadcasting in your ears. Zhongsheng's eyes lit up, wow! Isn't this the future in science fiction movies? However, soon she couldn't laugh. Because the Archon of this world is about to arrest her on the charge of illegal time and space intruder. When the image of the Archon appeared, Zhongsheng gasped, that face is Yanzhen again. This time, Yanzhen was not only the man next to her, but also the tyrant who ruled the future Star Harbor. The two identities intertwined again, making it impossible for her to tell who fate was teasing her. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 38 Cultivating Immortal Illusions. The third ball of light, the two fell into the Sea of Clouds' immortal mountain. The bearded Taoist priest stepped on his sword and shouted loudly, what kind of demon dares to break into the gate of heaven without permission? Zhongsheng was stunned, this is Immortal Cultivation World? The next moment, she was stuffed into an alchemy furnace, saying that she wanted to refine mortal minds. The flames were scorching, and she was terrified, but she heard a familiar voice from outside the furnace, let her out. A black-clothed swordsman came flying in the air, with the sword shining brightly. It was Yanzhen again. When the alchemy furnace burst, Zhongsheng suddenly realized, no matter which world, Yanzhen will appear in different identities. Whether it is an emperor, a tyrant, or a sword cultivator, but he will always stay by her side. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 39 The Doubt of Fate. After 3 worlds, Zhongsheng began to wonder, are these different Yanzhen really the same person? Or is it a phantom of fate? She couldn't help but ask, what if one day, I find out that you are just a phantom, what should I do? Yanzhen stared at her, and a hint of fragility appeared on his cold face. I only ask you one question, if I dissipate, would you still want to find me again? Zhongsheng had tearful eyes and nodded heavily. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 40 Blood Moon Judgment. Just as they were about to step into the fourth world, the blood moon rose again. The voice of the Crow Queen came from the darkness. You have crossed the 3 realms and have changed your life against the sky. There is only one final ending, destruction. The cracks tore apart the galaxy, countless balls of light shattered, and the world began to collapse. Zhongsheng hugged Yanzhen tightly and said in a trembling voice, no matter what fate is, I will never lose you again. Yanzhen smiled deeply, drew his sword and slashed at the blood moon, if I am lonely, I will protect you. The sword light cut through the sky, and the door to a new world slowly opened. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 41 The Depths of Reincarnation. They stepped into a new door, only to find that this time, there was nothing around them. There is no earth, no starry sky, only countless images of Zhongsheng and Yanzhen. Some of those images are hugging and laughing, some are separated from each other, and some are turning against each other. Zhongsheng's whole body trembled. This is the core of reincarnation? A voice sounded, only true choice can break the fate. Do you want to be inseparable for thousands of generations, or completely cut off this bond? Zhongsheng and Yanzhen looked at each other, and the world fell into silence. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 42 The Eternal Answer. Zhongsheng took a deep breath and smiled with tears. I don't want reincarnation, I don't want fate. I just want to be with you, for one life or 1,000 lifetimes. Yanzhen's eyes were like fire, and he hugged her tightly. The same is true for loneliness. The words fell, all the images were shattered at the same time, the blood moon collapsed, and the crows wailing echoed in the void. A warm light envelopes them, and a new world is being born. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 43 Rebirth. When Zhongsheng opened his eyes, there was an unknown green field in front of him, with the breeze blowing and the fragrance of flowers. There are no palaces in the distance, no steel high-rise buildings, only the sky and the earth. Yanzhen stood quietly beside her, stretched out his hand to hold her hand, and his tone was rarely soft. From now on, this is our world. Zhongsheng's tears flashed, and he finally understood in his heart, they had jumped out of their fate and ushered in a new world that truly belonged to them. The story is far from over. Chapter 44 Borderless Land. The new world is boundless and the rivers are rushing, but there is no trace of civilization. Zhongsheng stepped on the grass and couldn't help but complain, now it's good, there is no gold, silver, and jewelry, no house, no servants, do we want to have a picnic and open up wasteland? Yanzhen looked at the mountains in the distance, his eyebrows calm, the world has just opened, and everything is waiting to be prosperous. If fate gives us a new beginning, I will establish a kingdom here. Zhongsheng blinked, establish a country? Isn't that the same as I'm going to be the mother of the nation? Yanzhen glanced at her coldly, but the corners of his lips curled up imperceptibly. Do you dare to say no? Zhongsheng covered his face, secretly happy in his heart. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 45 The Returning Companion. Just as they were setting up camp, a familiar voice sounded, Miss Zhang. Fourth Master? Zhongsheng turned his head and saw the former maid King Zhu, the guard Jingjun, and several companions who had been separated in the reincarnation, all appearing here. Their figures had a halo, as if they were gifts left by fate. King Zhu cried with joy, the slave thought I would never see you again. The chill between Yanzhen's eyebrows faded, and his voice was low, okay, since fate failed to take you away, I will work with you to build a new dynasty together. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 46 The Afterimage of the Blood Moon. However, as night fell, the bloody brilliance shone in the sky again. Although the blood moon has been shattered, there are still fragments of remnants lingering, turning into strange creatures and infiltrating the new world. After Jingjun led his men and horses to kill a blood shadow giant wolf, he reported with blood all over his body, Fourth Master, the curse of the blood moon has not completely dissipated. Zhongsheng's brows furrowed, and his heart felt cold, that is to say. Our world may still be eroded? Yanzhen held her hand and looked firm, the solitary will completely suppress it. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 47 The Founding Ceremony. 3 years later. The grassland has been reclaimed into fertile fields, cities have risen from the ground, and palaces are majestic. All the people gathered in the square, and the shouts shook the heavens and the earth. Yanzhen, clad in a black gold imperial robe, his gaze sharp as a blade, his voice resonating throughout heaven and earth, from this day forward, the name of our nation shall be Qinzi, symbolizing the acceptance of the sun's rays and the dismantling of the blood moon. Zhongsheng, clad in a phoenix coronet and bridal robe, stood shoulder to shoulder with him. The people chanted, Long live His Majesty! Long live the Empress! Zhongsheng had mixed feelings in his heart, and couldn't help but quietly stab Yanzhen, hey, I suddenly feel that It seems that the counterattack has really succeeded? Yan Zhen turned his head sideways and spat out a faint sentence, I have never felt that you have lost. Zhang Sheng's eyes were slightly hot. Chapter 48 The Final Showdown. Just as the Qinxi kingdom was prosperous, the blood moon remnants condensed into its final form, a giant red crow covering the sky and the sun, roaring and tearing through the sky. The fear in Zhang Sheng's heart resurfaced. This is the last will of fate? Yan Zhen stood with his sword drawn, his voice low, you step back. Zhang Sheng held his hand and gritted his teeth, no. I have accompanied you through so many worlds, how can I retreat now? The two stood side by side, the sword light collided with the blood moon, and the sky and the earth collapsed. Zhang Sheng suddenly felt a burning in her chest, and a light gushed out of her body. Only then did she realize that she was actually the guardian of the core of reincarnation, and only by working together with Yan Zhen could she completely cut off her fate. Finally, a sword fell, and the blood moon was completely shattered. Heaven and earth returned to clarity. Chapter 49 Ordinary Wishes. After the war, the people sang and danced to celebrate, and the ministers advised Yan Zhen to take advantage of the situation to expand the territory and start his hegemony. Zhang Sheng pulled his sleeve in the imperial garden and begged in a low voice, I don't want the hegemony of thousands of generations, I just want a warm home. You must have children, calligraphy and painting, a dog, and a bed where you can sleep together. Yan Zhen looked at her, and his cold face gradually softened, okay. I'm lonely for you. Zhang Sheng's eyes were red, and his heart was full of stability. Chapter 50 The Ending. A few years later, Zhang Sheng sat on the steps of the palace with his youngest daughter in his arms, watching the sunset. The child's eyes lit up and he asked, Mother, why is the moon so round today? Zhang Sheng was stunned, smiled and rubbed her hair, because the moon is also guarding its most important person. Familiar footsteps came from behind her. Yan Zhen walked over, draped the cloak over her shoulders, and whispered, You are also a lone moon. In the afterglow of the setting sun, the family smiled at each other. The cycle of fate has finally come to an end. Postscript. Zhang Sheng once thought that his time travel was just a ridiculous tease. She was ridiculed, disliked, and seen as a laughingstock. But she came to the end step by step, and with her bravery and perseverance, she tore the iron lock of fate. Yan Zhen once thought that the fate of the emperor was loneliness and cruelty. But he finally understood that the real strength is not the cold and hard solitary courage, but the person who is always willing to hold his hand. The blood moon is shattered, and a new world is born. They established a kingdom, but chose the most ordinary happiness as their destination. The world remembers Qinxi's prosperous era, but few people know that the beginning of that prosperous era only stemmed from a woman's smile that refused to bow her head. This is the counterattack of Donghua Fujin.